Good morning, Wake and Takers. How are we doing? Let's go ahead and get this bad boy moved over here. The microphone was way too far away. What is going on, everybody? It is Tuesday, November 18th, and what in the hell happened in week 11? This was one of the, I didn't even get a chance to fully watch the games this weekend. It's that time of year where everything's just going crazy. Everyone's everywhere, and it's not always a given to get to just watch the game. So I didn't get to fully watch the games. I got to do a lot of catching up this weekend, and I'm baffled as to what the hell happened. Every time I'm getting an alert, there's someone injured. Every time I'm getting an alert, there's someone coming back in. There's blow up games from random running backs. There's just big duds all around the league. And then we got Spitgate. We got 2.0 Spitgate. There's just week 11 was weird. And there were so many injuries, and there's so much that is being shaken up right now for week 12 and forward. I mean, we only got 3 weeks left until it's the fantasy football playoffs. And to have this big of a shakeup this late in the season, it's really going to change the trajectory of leagues everywhere. So not going to dilly-dally today. Going to go ahead and just everyone buckle in. We're not even going to do like a breakdown between news and recap because there was, like I said, there were so many injuries. There were so many stories that if I just did the news, that would be the entire show. So we're just going to go game by game, do the recap, and we're going to weave the news in as we go, try to keep it as fluid as possible. But as always, thank you guys for being here first and foremost. Going to go ahead and just let you guys know this will be the only show of Wake and Take this week. There will be no Thursday show. Going on a trip, so we'll not be recording. Do not have the time to do a pre-recording. So if you want to hear or you won't be able to hear, but if you want to see my starts and sits, you want to see my rankings, I will be posting them over on Twitter. You can follow me there at @JOwens_FF. I post my rankings on a weekly basis over there. I add tidbits whenever things pop into my brain. So if you're wanting more of the information that I bring, if you want any of my takes, if you want to see where I have these guys ranked, be sure to be following me over there because, like I said, I post my rankings every day, every weekend there. Saturday, update Sunday to get you ready for your Sunday morning games. But like I said, it was a fun week. It was definitely a fun week of football. Crazy, absolute insanity. And I saw some super teams just put up 50 points. And then I saw some of the teams that have been scraping by off of injuries. They put up 150 points. So it's any given week, just like in the NFL, it's any given week in fantasy football. So hopefully you're still afloat here. Hopefully you guys are still making your push for the playoffs. Let's get going. Let's get right into it. Like I said, we're just gonna do the recap. We're not gonna do a break in news. We're not gonna do a break in all of this. We're just gonna get going. We're gonna go game by game here. First up was the Thursday night football game with the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. It feels like this was 10 years ago because of everything that happened on Sunday. But honestly, the Jets came in and they put up a fight a little bit. It was I wouldn't say like it was like a close game, but it was more competitive than what we could typically expect. But the real story in this game here is not what the New York Jets did. It is the full-blown pants-off breakout of Travion Henderson here. 19 carries, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, and then 5 catches for 31 yards and an extra touchdown. A 3-touchdown game. Jonathan Taylor-esque game here from Travion Henderson. And, I mean, it just keeps rolling. I told you guys with the short week that even though Terrell Jennings was going to be active, it looked like that I did not see them giving a meaningful workload to him, and he got 0 touches. Dearness Johnson spelled Henderson for 3 carries. So for the time being, Henderson is the bell cow here. When Ramondre comes back, it will probably go back to some form of split, but I don't see Vrabel and the Patriots just going away from the dude who's just been on fire. I mean, 3 touchdowns this game. The game before, 2 touchdowns and 150 yards. Like you can't just turn away from that. Like that's just insanity if he's going to go ahead and put Ramondre Stevenson, who has been inefficient, who has been nothing, that has not even been safe with the football. He's been fumbling on the goal line, just has not been providing explosive plays. He has just been doing what's asked of him. And now Henderson is finally having the breakout. So you think that we're going to see at least a 50-50, if not 60-40 split with Henderson being the lead back now. I do think that we see Ramondre more than we all want to and hope to, but you stick with Henderson from this point. If you held on, if you went and you scooped when people were panicking, or if he hit waivers and you scooped and you held, congratulations. That's how you do it right there. That's I'm not gonna lie, I was worried about Henderson. I thought he was droppable for sure with what we saw when Terrell Jennings took over that 1 week. But that's the nature of the beast of this game. You know, you one day you get 0 carries, and then the next day you're getting 24 and putting up 3 touchdowns. Morning, happy. Good morning. Good morning. How we doing? How we doing? Definitely a lot to cover today, but busy day for me today. So I'm doing my best to keep it tight, get everyone in and out and ready for week 12. Let's keep it rolling here. Drake May had a solid game, not a great game. He didn't really have to do too much on the ground. He didn't have to keep the sticks moving too much. So only 4 carries and 2 yards here, but still 280 and a tutty in the air to Hendo. So solid there. As I've been saying on a weekly basis, Stephon Diggs is the only wide receiver for New England that you are looking to start here. 11 targets, 9 catches, 105 yards. He's going to be the most consistent. It's not always going to be amazing. He's not the same high ceiling Stephon Diggs that we've seen in the past, but he is very consistent. He is very steady. And I mean, the dude's been getting targets, 11 targets, 8 targets. Even when he wasn't getting targets in weeks 8 and 9 against some tougher pass defenses with 5 and 4 targets, he still caught touchdowns. So he's keeping you afloat. He's a very much easy plug into your wide receiver 2 flex spot on a weekly basis. And Matt Collins is kind of creeping his way into that flex basis as well. Another 5 targets and 64 yards. He is definitely one of Drake May's favorite targets here. And the snaps are saying that like he's on the field all the time. He is the number 1 wide receiver for this team in terms of snaps. Another 87% snap share, the highest on the team again. The next closest is Diggs with about 73%. And then Kyle Williams has kind of been creeping up there the past 3 weeks or so, overtaking Pop Douglas and being that number 3 guy in this offense. So if you are a dynasty manager and you can go scoop Kyle Williams, because it hasn't really, he had the one big catch and run 2 weeks ago, but he had a quiet game this week. With zero catches. So if you can, go scoop Kyle Williams now in your dynasty leagues for cheap. If you can get him as a throw-in, I think he's going to be a great piece moving forward, because some of these guys, obviously we're expecting Boutte back, but Holland isn't a long-term option. Pop Douglas isn't a long-term option. And even Diggs isn't a full-term, long-term option right now. He's getting up there in age. So we're going to see the passing of the torch soon. And I think Kyle Williams is going to be a big piece of this offense 2026 forward. So go scoop him there. But flip it back to this. Hunter Henry got 6 targets. So you still can't really trust him. He's had so many games where you can't trust him. But for your desperate teams, he's always a weekly flex or a weekly tight end plug hopeful, but just not much there. On the Jets side, it was just a mess. It was chaos, and we've already got news that Tyrod Taylor is taking over for week 12. But Fields, I mean, he didn't do it in the air. He at least threw the ball more than 5 times, which is more than what we could say before. I mean, we had a game of 11 attempts, 12 attempts, 17 attempts in the past 5 weeks. So to see 26 attempts was nice. But it doesn't matter because, again, he's getting benched. He added 67 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So he gave a nice little send-off on his way out. Breece Hall, quiet game here, but, I mean, you can't turn away from him. The volume is there. And with a more typical, stereotypical pocket passer out of Tyrod Taylor, we should see more targets here for Breece Hall. So we could see some CMC light usage out of Breece Hall, and he's got the explosiveness. We've seen it this year. We've seen it in his career that it's there. So stick with Breece Hall. Wide receivers, Adonai Mitchell got 6 targets. Yay. Only 1 catch for 10 yards. Boo. So AD Mitchell stays as a dynasty stash for me right now. I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot of usefulness this season. I don't see how you can trust him, even unless Tyrod comes in and hyper targets him and we see flashes in the next week, I don't think you can trust him for your playoff run unless you are in the deepest of deep leagues. And that's really it for the Jets here. Moving on to the Spain game that we had, the Barcelona game. We had Washington versus Miami, and Miami pulls out the OT winner in what was a very ugly game. But I mean, it was exactly. I feel like this is exactly what I called on the Thursday show, where this is going to be a gross game, and the only people that you're going to want are going to be Achane and Waddle. Waddle kind of disappointed here, but Achane comes through once again with another 150 plus yard game, 120 on the ground, 45 in the air, and 5 catches. Just Achane doing Achane things. That's just what we have come to know and love about Achane over the past 2 years. Is the dude is just he shouldn't be. He's not the stereotypical like consistency like guy, but he is just so consistent because this offense is depleted and he can take any touch to the house. So very similar to Breece Hall. It does not matter what the team looks like. You are sticking with Achane for sure. Ollie Gordon with a pretty solid game here. 9 carries, 45 and a tutty. He did vulture the tutty from Achane, and we hate to see that for Achane, but for Ollie Gordon himself, that's great. That is what we wanted to see, and we're kind of starting to see it a little bit more as the year goes on. He kind of came on earlier when Achane had an injury scare, and then we're back again with Ollie kind of carving out a role for himself next to Achane to be the thunder to that lightning. So not anyone that I'm fully interested in, but a good stash to have, because even though, again, this team is ugly, this team is gross, if Achane goes down to an injury, Gordon is going to be usable in fantasy football. It's not going to be pretty, but he's going to be usable. Waddle, a little bit of a down game, only 3 catches for 52 yards, but 7 targets. Again, just stick with him there. Outside of that, nothing on the Miami side I want to even talk about or discuss. Tua, gross. 0 touchdowns, gross. Not even 200 yards, gross. This offense is Achane and Achane only, and then Waddle just benefits from pure volume. On the Washington side, we had the 3-headed monster continue here, but Chris Rodriguez is starting to kind of separate himself in terms of usage. 15 carries for about 80 yards, and then an additional catch for 6 yards. Next up on the totem pole was Bill Krosky with 10 opportunities, and then Jeremy McNichols with 6 opportunities. So very much, again, that 30-30-30 split that just is a pure avoid. No one is doing enough points-wise to make a difference here. I mean, just looking at Chris Rodriguez is just stepping into what the Bill Krosky role was when the hype was out of control, where he's only getting 45% of the snap share, McNichols 25, and Bill Krosky 27. So you don't need to roster any 3 of these guys. If there's an injury to one of them, maybe. But this offense is just, this whole team, this Washington team is floundering right now. They've been dealing with injuries on both sides of the ball, not balls. But in the pass catching realm, it looks like Debo had his bounce back. Maybe that heel is healed, where he caught 7 of 8 targets for 74 and a tutty. So Debo is back into flex consideration just because who else do they have? But I'm still not excited on a weekly basis to go with Debo. And that's it. That's it. Even Zach Ertz isn't attractive to me for fantasy football here. They got the week 12 bye, so you don't really have to worry about them. And then coming out of the bye, they get Denver, Minnesota, and then they get the Giants, but then it's Philly, Dallas. So it's going to be tough to trust Washington for any type of consistency coming out of the bye week, especially if Jaden Daniels does not come back, especially if Terry McLaurin does not come back. It's going to be very tough to trust anybody on this Washington Commanders offense. Moving on to another overtime thriller, we had Carolina top the Atlanta Falcons, and this is where the big injury news starts to trickle in here. We had Michael Penix leave the game with a knee injury, and we have just seen an absolute slew of words attached to that knee injury. What I'm seeing here is bone bruise, knee sprain, and some ACL damage. So he's already been moved to the IR. It's season ending, essentially. I think he's probably looking for different opinions to see if he can get back out there, but it's not worth it. This is a lost season for Atlanta, who honestly could not afford a lost season because they traded away their first round pick for 2026 to get back into the first round of 2025. So just an absolute flabbergasting move here by Atlanta, and just a disappointing time here. Kirk Chains will come back in. Kirk Cousins will come in, but we've seen him in one start and in his 14 pass attempts coming in relief of this game. It's been ugly. Kirk just doesn't look right. He didn't top 200 yards in his start against Miami, and he's only had 6 completions on 14 pass attempts here against Carolina. So maybe with a full week, we see something better here, but the true beneficiary is of these injuries. And you know what? Let's just continue with the injuries, because Drake London also dealing with an injury out of this game. Another big game for him, though. I mean, 7 catches, 119 yards, but towards the end, he did go down with an injury. He did leave the game, and it is confirmed right now to be a PCL sprain, the dreaded PCL sprain that gives the week-to-week designation. And honestly, we've seen guys just struggle to come back from a PCL. It takes a lot of time for someone to come back. So I think that is the last we have seen of Drake London in the fantasy football world. And honestly, that's the last we've seen of Drake London this season for the Atlanta Falcons, because they are not making the playoffs. So I think that Drake London is done for the season. Michael Penix is done for the season, and they're just going to have to start packing it in. We also had a Darnell Mooney, I think, injury, but I think he came back in. So not too concerned about Mooney outside of the fact that he still looks like ass. Mooney, 7 targets. Yay. 3 catches, 34 yards. Boo. The real beneficiary, like the true guys that are going to fill this volume gap with Penix and London going down, is going to be the running game. It's going to be Bijan, who we saw 28 touches here, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bijan's going to be perfectly fine. And I expect we should see some more Algier as well, just because there's going to be so much on Bijan's shoulders that Algier's just going to reactively, like, just the way that this offense works. Like, both these guys, like Algier is a very capable breather back. So I think we'll see more Algier with the game plan, focusing on the run game so much. Kyle Pitts becomes interesting. I know Kirk isn't the best right now. We haven't seen good Kirk Cousins in a couple years now from the injury and post-injury. But, I mean, the opportunity is going to be here for one of Mooney or Pitts to just step up and step into a ton of volume in the passing game. They are going to have to pass the ball. They can't solely rely on the run game, but we will see here. On the Carolina side, Bryce Young also, I mean, just absolute insanity game out of him, like career-saving game with 450 yards in the air, 3 tutties, and a 2-point conversion. I mean, he just went bananas, but he did suffer an ankle injury late in the game. He did stay in. He did not miss any time, but it is something to monitor because he's already been dealing with some lower body injuries and missed some time because of that. But we're hoping that Young's going to be able to practice and stay out there, because with his crazy game, he propped up the alpha in this offense, Teteroa McMillan. Finally, we saw once again. We saw a couple weeks ago. We saw the touchdowns. We just keep seeing sprinkles of the breakout, and it's finally here in full force. Teteroa McMillan, 12 targets, consistently been getting the majority of the targets here. 8 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We saw it all come together. Once again, we saw it all come together. We need Young to stay healthy, because it hasn't been good, but he has been hyper focused on T-Mac here. So he gets San Francisco next week, which isn't the worst matchup. And then the Rams, and then a bye. So you get a solid matchup, a tough matchup, and then a bye week for Teteroa McMillan here. But you got to keep rolling with it. It's like he hasn't been killing you with his bad games, and he's like, we've seen these flashes here when the touchdowns come. We just got to hope that Bryce Young can keep it rolling. Got to hope. Happy Moody has been horrible with Penix, but he did have some chemistry with Cousins last year. I just don't know if it's enough. I don't know. I don't know if Cousins has got it right now. I don't know if he's there. I don't know if he's all there right now. I'm a little bit worried. I'm concerned. We also saw we've been trying to figure out who option number 2 is in this Carolina offense, and Leggett just kind of seems to be hanging around in that role. We thought Jalen Coker would come back in and kind of take that over as the easy slot target, but only 4 targets here for Coker. And then Leggett got 8 targets, 83 and a touchdown. And he does seem to be, I mean, he was a higher draft pick. It's not like he was just some late round guy. He was early second round, late first round. So he is someone that this team wants to use and wants to get involved and get going because he is a dynamic athlete. And we've seen that. We've seen flashes of that. But again, just the consistency with the catch rate and everything hasn't been there. But we will see. We will see. And then Dowdle just continues his backfield dominance here. Not a big game, only 100 yards and 5 catches. So a very nice floor game here from Dowdle. And yeah, happy you're right. Leggett was hurt, but right now I think the designation is looking like more of a questionable than like he's missing some time here. So we'll keep an eye on that obviously throughout the week. And my rankings on Sunday will reflect that. Moving on to another, we had some high scoring games here. We had some stinkers and we had some explosiveness. The Tampa Bay Buffalo game did not disappoint. Josh Allen just put the team on his back this week. 6 touchdowns total, 3 in the air, 3 on the ground. I mean, half of his carries went for touchdowns. That's craziness right there. And then over 300 yards passing, 2 interceptions, but who cares when you're scoring 6 touchdowns? That's still a 3-to-1 ratio there, touchdown to interception. So just absolute beast game from Josh Allen. We've kind of had some stinkers mixed in there. And that's Josh Allen stinkers are not regular quarterback stinkers. Sub 20 points is where you're kind of like feeling like, damn, like I didn't get the full Josh Allen experience. So seeing a 40+ point game here in 4-point passing touchdown is crazy. I mean, over 50 points in 6-point passing touchdown. And then the running backs 8. 2 of the passing touchdowns went to the running backs, 1 to Cook and 1 to Ty Johnson, who had himself a nice little game here. Just a big catch and run for Ty Johnson for the touchdown. And then James Cook back to business for him, over 100 yards and a tutty there. The wide receiver situation, Keon Coleman benched for off the field like issues. The team wants to see more out of him, and honestly, everyone wants to see more out of him. And in that gap, you would we would expect to see Khalil Shakir be a big factor in the game with over 300 yards for Josh Allen, but that's not true. Only 1 catch for -3 yards for Khalil Shakir. Wild. The true winner was Tyrell Shavers, second-year player out of San Diego State, and it looks like he is kind of stepping into the Keon Coleman role, but actually delivered in his first game here. 4 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown for him. We saw Gabe Davis pop back in there. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Good to see Gabe Davis back out there, but honestly, and Josh Palmer too, thought he was going to be done for a lot longer, but Josh Palmer back out there. But really, again, this passing game is just spinning the roulette wheel. I said I like Jackson Hawes the most out of the tight ends in the absence of Dalton Kincaid, and Jackson Hawes got 0 targets. So it's just like it's impossible to predict on a weekly basis. If you have to start a Buffalo Bills pass catcher, it's going to be Khalil Shakir moving forward. You got to just shake off the bad game. And then Tyrell Shavers is an interesting guy to keep an eye on. I don't know if I'm quite ready to scoop and start just because, I mean, I don't expect Josh Allen to have 6 touchdowns every week, but an interesting name to keep an eye on. If you have a stash spot open and there's no running backs out there, keep an eye on him as someone who is potentially going to have a role here. We get Houston next week, so not a great matchup for the Buffalo Bills, and then Pittsburgh, Cincy, New England, Cleveland to finish it off. So keep an eye on Tyrell Shavers. If he's getting the snaps, if Coleman stays on the bench, he is going to be an interesting guy for weeks 13 forward. But yeah, no, with the tight ends, we saw Jackson Hawes 34% snap share, but Dawson Knox took over the role, 75% snap share. And like I said, I expected Hawes to kind of step into the Kincaid role where he gets the targets when he is on the field, but that didn't happen either. So we saw Knox get 3 of the targets out of the tight ends, but that's just not enough. So avoid the pass catchers here in Buffalo outside of Khalil Shakir, and then you just roll with Cook and Josh Allen. Tampa, Baker struggled quite a bit here. It was a tough game for him. He had a rushing touchdown to kind of save the stat line here, giving you about 17 fantasy points, but a fumble and an interception and only less than 200 yards and only 1 touchdown in the air is disappointing. The real story, and it's something that I talked about, the matchup for Sean Tucker compared to Rashad White was much better, and it delivered. Sean Tucker, bulk of the carries here, 21 opportunities compared to Rashad White's 13 opportunities, and Sean Tucker 2 touchdowns, 106 yards on the ground, another touchdown in the air, 3 touchdown performance from Tucker too, 140 yards. He went off, and like I said it on Thursday that he has the better matchup here. He is more set up to smash, and we had kind of seen Rashad White start to fade a little bit and Sean Tucker start to surge a little bit. The snap share was still favoring White, but the hot hand approach is exactly what these backup situations always become. It does not matter if Rashad White was getting 80, 90% of the snaps 5 weeks ago. That was 5 weeks ago. In the absence of the stud Bucky Irving, they're always going to go with who is doing the most for them right now, and that was Sean Tucker this week. Expect Sean Tucker to get the first crack at it if we do not see Bucky Irving out there for week 12. We saw Bucky practicing, so I'm not confident that it's going to be Sean Tucker season, but we don't know. It's been a weird, long road for Bucky's recovery here. And honestly, they get the Rams next week, so I don't think I'm starting any of the Bucs running backs unless Bucky is back. If Bucky's back, and even then, I'm not excited about starting Bucky against the Rams. It's the first game back. It's a bad matchup. I'm full out on the Tampa Bay backfield for week 12, but following that, Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina, Miami to finish the season. So go get Bucky now before maybe even let Bucky have a bad week 12 and then go get him from the desperate Bucky manager, because weeks 13 through 17 are going to be insane if Bucky can come back healthy. If not, Sean Tucker needs to be on your roster. He's only 29% rostered on Sleeper. He needs to be stashed. He needs to be held because there's no guarantee that Bucky's back. Again, we saw him at practice. We're expecting to see him back this week, but it's not a guarantee here. Quiet game for Ibuka, but still 9 targets. And then Cade Otton, a quiet game here. Someone who's been kind of consistent lately, another quiet game, but just a down game from Baker in general. Really, Sean Tucker carried the team this week. Flipping over to the Jacksonville Los Angeles Chargers game. MB Prof, good morning. Good morning. No worries about being late. Trying to keep this one tight, trying to go fast. So appreciate you jumping in, man. Chargers and Jacksonville, we had just absolute poop fest from the Chargers here. Herbert looked bad. Trey Lance came in. Vidal left the game with an injury, with a leg injury. Came back and just did nothing. 12 yards total for Vidal. Just an absolute falling on their face for the Chargers in total. Like, Jacksonville is not a tough matchup, is not supposed to be someone that can just shut down the entire team like this, but it happened. Chargers go into week 12 bye week, and hopefully their offensive line can get it figured out, because that has been the issue with all the injuries, with Joe Alt being out. It's tough to plug that left tackle slot, and Jacksonville exploited that. We had both running backs on the Jacksonville side go off here. And for the Chargers out of the week 12 bye, I'm not concerned. I'm not worried about it. They're gonna come back week 13, and it's gonna be a game against the Vegas Raiders, and that's a get right game if I've ever seen one. They do get Philly in week 14 and KC in week 15. So those are 2 tough matchups, but then we finish the season with Dallas and Houston in the playoffs. So stick with the Chargers, though. I think they're going to be fine coming out of the bye here in week 13. On the Jacksonville side, we had, again, both running backs had great games, almost identical stat lines here. ETN, 73 yards on the ground, 19 carries for 2 tutties. And then Bashal Tootin had a good game as well. I feel like a lot of this did have to do, we've seen this before, where Tootin got more run in a blowout game. So 74 yards, 15 carries, and a tutty for Tootin as well, who did suffer an injury as well. He said he's good. He said he's fine, but that's player talking. A player, especially a rookie, is never going to say, yeah, I need some time. I'm hurt. He's gonna push to be out on the field. So we'll see. We get Arizona next week. Great matchup. Tennessee the week after that. Indy, Jets. There's a good 4-week stretch here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So ETN is starting to rock at the right time once again. And Tootin is interesting to, if you've held on to him, he could see some flex consideration here. In the pass catching realm, we had Jacoby Myers. I said it. He's going to be at the top of the list here in terms of opportunities. And he led the team in targets with 6. They didn't need to pass the ball too much, so we didn't see a ton of volume. Tim Patrick catches Trevor Lawrence's lone touchdown here, and Parker Washington relegated back with Jacoby Myers' health fully integrated into this offense. Only 2 for 2 for Parker there. So I think that's what we're going to see, especially with Brian Thomas most likely coming back next week. It's going to be BTJ, it's going to be Jacoby, and we might even see Brenton Strange come back soon and get worked into that mix as well. I think all 3 of these guys are just going to be tough to trust because, again, this Jacksonville offense, when they're playing well, it's through the run game. So I think really who you want here is going to be ETN and Tootin on a weekly basis. And then if you got to, BTJ and Myers are going to be where I'm going. If you're a tight end desperate team, Brenton Strange is an interesting name coming back here next week. We had an NFC North matchup with Chicago at Minnesota, and Chicago comes out on top, not only in this game, but on top of the NFC North as well after the Lions lost on Sunday night. This is straight up Paul Rudd, like Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson looking at each other with just like the Paul Rudd meme, like, look at us now. Look at us now. Not the best game for Caleb. Not the most offensive game in general. Less than 200 yards, no touchdowns for Caleb. So the hot streak ends here for Caleb, but he gets a solid matchup against Pittsburgh in week 12 here. The running backs look flip-flopped where Monangai had more points, but Swift, 22 opportunities. Monangai, 13 opportunities. Monangai just got the touchdown. And that's just what we're seeing here. We're seeing both guys get worked in, and we're seeing both guys get worked in the red zone. So it's not just going to be Swift as the guaranteed touchdown anymore. You kind of just got to get lucky with these two, but Swift is still the primary back here. We saw, what was the snap split? Here? We saw 58% snaps go to Swift, and we saw 37 go to Monangai. So still Swift as the primary. We're just seeing a little bit more of a mix between these guys. So when this offense is going, both these guys can be very much fantasy viable. Swift in the RB2 range, Monangai in the flex RB3 range. Sorry I missed this here. Thoughts on Godwin off of waivers? I don't oppose it just because this team needs targets. We saw Sterling Shepard be the second highest targeted player, tied with Cade Otton with 5 targets, and then Tez Johnson, a very quiet game with only 3 targets. So I think that, it's worth the shot. It's worth the speculative ad. I wouldn't grab him to start him immediately. Again, we get the Rams in week 12, so they're going to have to pass the ball, but that's just a tough matchup. So I'm not trusting Godwin off of multiple stints of missed time going in against the Rams here. So not my favorite plug and play type guy, but I do like him as a grab and just wait and see what the snaps and the targets and how he looks out there in general. The Chicago passing game, another quiet one. Again, not a lot of offense on this game. Odunze back in the driver's seat, those 6 targets leading the team. And then Burden sneaking up there, 5 targets for him. And we saw him out target DJ Moore, and we saw 2 weeks in a row now, Luther Burden, the third Luther Burden, 52% snaps last week, 44% this week. Olamide Zaccheaus only 14% of snaps this past week, though. That is an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Only 10 offensive snaps, no injury that we are aware of right now. So we could be seeing Zaccheaus get phased out and Burden be brought in. He's been making plays when he gets the ball. So I think that he's finally done the work that Ben Johnson wants to see to get involved more in this offense, and it's at the right time. We're seeing a 50-50 split with these tight ends, though. So it's really tough. This offense is there. We knew it coming into the season. There's a ton of weapons. So we're going to see these games where everything gets spread out. And if there's not a big offensive passing performance, we're not going to see the big game like we want. But a true 50-50 split here, 2 weeks in a row now with a fully healthy Kmet. We got 75% to Loveland, 78% to Kmet. And I think that's just going to be what it is moving forward. So Loveland's breakout is back on hold unless Kmet gets injured again. But they're both still decent options on a weekly basis. I think Loveland is clearly the big ceiling swing between the two. On the Minnesota side, J.J. McCarthy, just another tough week here. Another 2 interceptions, 150 yards and a touchdown. And then even Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones dominated the backfield here with 22 opportunities to Jordan Mason's 6. But Jordan Mason got the red zone touchdown. So This is going to be a toughie to pick because JJ McCarthy is not getting it done to keep this offense moving. And that makes everybody here very risky. Another 16 targets. That's literally 50% of JJ McCarthy's opportunities between Addison and Jefferson, and just nothing to show for it. Addison caught the touchdown, but only 20 yards. Not a big game. Jefferson, 61 yards on 5 catches. This is, I'm very much worried about Minnesota fantasy players for this season because JJ McCarthy has shown good pieces of NFL play, but not fantasy football play. We haven't seen it out of McCarthy out of like a few flashes in a few games. It has not been, there's been zero consistency. The play calling's been questionable. The run game has been really the buoy of this team, and it's not enough for them to win games. So we want to see some change, but JJ McCarthy just is not getting it done to keep my Jordan Addison or my Justin Jefferson hopes alive. We get Green Bay in week 12. That's going to be a tough one. Seattle in week 13. That's a tough one. They do get some reprieve here towards the fantasy football playoffs. So maybe a buy low opportunity if you are a lock for the playoffs to go get a Justin Jefferson, because we get week 14, Washington, week 15, Dallas, week 16, New York Giants, and then week 17 against Detroit, who is hit or miss on defense right now. So week 12, week 13 going to be tough. You can't start Addison in those 2 games unless you absolutely have to. You have to start Jefferson. You can't ever bench Justin Jefferson, but you might have to eat a couple more duds here for the next 2 weeks. But blue skies are ahead in weeks 14 through 17 for the Minnesota Vikings. So just hold on, pivot if you can. And if you're hoping for a JJ McCarthy breakout, it's not happening this year, guys. We saw Green Bay almost drop a third straight game, almost to another just opponent they should not lose to. Jameis Winston comes in and does Jameis Winston things, where he only threw the ball 29 times. So it wasn't true Jameis Winston performance here, but a rushing touchdown, 2 turnovers, no passing touchdowns. So didn't do enough to really prop up these passing options. But again, we talked about it on Thursday. Who the hell was he throwing to? We're looking down here, and I mean, Isaiah Hodgins, 6 targets. Wan'Dale Robinson expected to get the 9 targets, 36 yards. Doesn't matter. Jalen Hyatt, 4 targets. Theo Johnson, 4 targets. There was just no one for the ball to go to for Jameis, so I get why the attempts were low. And Devin Singletary really was kind of putting the team on his back here with 16 carries and 2 touchdowns. Again, this backfield in New York is going to be messy. It's a 50-50 split straight up in terms of snaps and opportunities between Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, and you're never going to know which one to start on a weekly basis, so don't do it at all. If you absolutely have to, I'm still starting Tyrone Tracy, but I don't want to do either. On the Green Bay side, we saw multiple injuries over here. We saw Jordan Love leave and come back. He's got a left shoulder injury. Like I said, he did come back. He did bring the team back and get the W here, barely, but something to keep an eye on. Usually you see these guys in game, they get their shot, they get some pain relief. And then once the week sets in and the swelling and the adrenaline wears off, we see the injury fully take form here. So keep an eye on Jordan Love's status throughout the week. And then Josh Jacobs, another injury here. He also left the game and did not return with a knee contusion. He's listed as day-to-day. He's pushing to play this weekend, so we'll keep an eye on that. But another guy here, Emmanuel Wilson, is a must-add this week. Even if Jacobs does play, you've got to have Wilson stashed with a knee injury to Jacobs, a guy who is just getting absolute volume. We've seen Wilson step in and be able to perform in the past. And he did it once again this week, coming in and getting 71% of the snaps and 12 opportunities with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So it's not going to be 1-for-1 Josh Jacobs replacement, but Emmanuel Wilson will be the primary back, and this offense is still run first. So a Wilson will be a must-add this week on the waiver wire. Pass catching, Christian Watson had the breakout game. Not exactly how I expected it, but I mean, 2 touchdowns is 2 touchdowns. I called it, and that was the espresso shot right there. It was Christian Watson, and bada bing, bada boom. Christian Watson, 4 catches, 46 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dobbs did play. Dobbs did get targets, but you got to think with the Jordan Love injury that these pass catchers are going to be a little bit tough to trust moving forward. If you have to, stick with your Dobbs, stick with your Watson. Those are the only two that I'm looking for here. Go grab Emmanuel Wilson off the waiver wire. Be ready and watch that Josh Jacobs injury report on a weekly basis. Not a fab dump because Jacobs is only day-to-day, so it's not like a rest of season pick up and smash type play with Wilson, but definitely this is the time to get aggressive. Make that play now so that way if something does happen to Jacobs, if the injury is worse than we initially thought, you have the main guy here in Green Bay. We have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and for that one, I mean, what a weird game. We had Spitgate 2.0. Jamar Chase got shut down all day. 10 targets, love to see it. 3 catches for 30 yards. That's in itself wild. And then we saw Jamar Chase spit on Jalen Ramsey. Punches get thrown. So just, like I said, Spitgate 2.0, we saw it at the beginning of the season with Dallas and Philly, and now we're seeing it here late in the season with Jamar Chase, and the punishment was quick here. The NFL wasted no time. Jamar Chase is suspended for week 12. For week 12. So we do get the New England game with no Jamar Chase. T. Higgins to the moon here. Higgins was the only bright spot that's not true. Chase Brown had a good game, but T. Higgins is going to be an absolute monster in week 12 here. He had 8 targets, 63 and a touchdown in this game. And next week it's going to be wheels all the way up here. And then I also expect Chase Brown to get heavy usage again. 26 opportunities here for Chase Brown and over 100 yards, no touchdowns. The quiet offensive game from Cincinnati. Again, I kind of had that weird feeling that this was going to be a quieter game. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect 12 points from Cincinnati, but still some fantasy usage here. Should you drop Flacco for Brissett against New England? I think you're safe to go ahead and do that because we are expecting Joe Burrow back in week 13, and Brissett's still cooking. Another week here with 20 plus fantasy points and 2 touchdowns for Brissett, and they get Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. The Rams is a tough matchup, but the matchups don't seem to matter for Brissett. He just seems to be getting the job done, whether it's garbage time or not. So I would definitely go ahead and do that. Flacco could blow up one more week, but Brissett's been doing perfectly fine, and he is the guaranteed starter pretty much for the rest of the season in Arizona. So yeah, I would take the guaranteed weekly plug quarterback in Brissett over Flacco, who may be falling off here in week 13. But yeah, so down game for Flacco, down game for Jamar Chase, and Noah Fant is another interesting guy. He had 6 targets in the game, and with Chase out next week, he could be another beneficiary of that massive hole in target share there. On the Pittsburgh side, we saw Aaron Rodgers leave the game and Mason Rudolph come in. Aaron Rodgers is dealing with a fracture in his non-throwing wrist on the left hand. He is pushing to play right now for Sunday. It is at Chicago, his home stadium, the home of his children, the Chicago Bears, and we know he is the pettiest man alive who would love to go in there and do nothing else but drop a bomb, a fantasy point bomb on the Chicago Bears. But we'll see. It could be Rudolph. It could be Rodgers. And then Jaylen Warren also left the game with an ankle injury. He said he could have returned, but the game was just out of hand, so he did not. But keep an eye, because we've heard this before with Jaylen Warren, where it's like, he's going to be fine. And then all of a sudden it's Sunday morning in London and he's sitting down. And I mean, Kenny Gainwell, this game again, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards for Gainwell. So if Warren does miss time, keep an eye on that report. Gainwell is another priority add here this week if he's not already been stashed away. He's 53% roster on Sleeper, so a lot more people got him than Emmanuel Wilson. So just check if Gainwell's out there, scoop him, and just hold and watch the injury report from Pittsburgh and see where Jaylen Warren is. The passing game, still gross. Darnell Washington takes over as the tight end with the most points here, with the most targets here. You know that you start your tight ends against Cincinnati, but this was a weird one because which tight end should you start between Freiermuth, Jonnu, and Washington? I would have never guessed Washington, but here we are. Washington, 5 targets, 67 yards. Don't care. Not starting any 3 of those tight ends moving forward here. DK Metcalf, the only pass catcher I'm looking to start, and I still don't feel happy about it. I've talked about it on a weekly basis, he's impossible to trust, especially if it's Mason Rudolph. The only thing you might get with a Mason Rudolph is force fed. But I think that we're going to see Pittsburgh just shift back to a run-heavy ideology here. So keep an eye on Jaylen Warren. If he's healthy, if he's out there, you play him. If not, Kenneth Gainwell, wheels all the way up. AQ Skittles, good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. Do I keep London or trade him? If you can trade him for anything, I don't expect to see him back this year. A PCL injury is not something that people come back quickly from. But I also, what the hell are you going to get for him? So if you can get something decent, if you need a player to plug in, if you're making your push for the playoffs now, trade him for anything, because I don't think we see, especially with Kirk Cousins back there, I don't think we see the Drake London that we had for that small stretch. I don't think we see wide receiver 1 Drake London for the rest of the season, if we see Drake London at all the rest of the season. So if someone's feeling some hopium on the PCL injury, go ahead and make that trade. If this is Dynasty, hold. Just hold. You're not going to get anywhere what he's worth in Dynasty right now, so hold. But for redraft, if you can get something, anything. But yeah, as always, I did my fast draft, my quick 6 super slam, my free roll that has been going on for beginner drafters. And once again, I had the Chase Higgins stack, expecting Flacco to do something, and bust. My 2x and my 1.75x slots were just kind of wasted away with that. Just an overall dud for me once again. And that's just been, that's how I've been this year with fast draft. And you know what? I'm still having fun. So that's all that matters. But if you guys are doing better with your DFS, make sure that you flip on over to fast draft. You get in there on your first deposit, use code JOwensFF to get a $50 deposit match. If you want to just pick your 6 favorite players who you think is going to put up the most points, do the quick 6 super slam. If you want the fun of a draft and you want to see some randomness in there, and you want to see some variety, and you want to, you kind of want the draft slot to dictate what your DFS lineup looks like, go do the Flex 6 Frenzy in there. Both are fun games. Neither of them have to deal with salary. Neither of them have to do with plugging things into a model and having it spit out. You pick your players, you put them in the boosters, and you let the money come to you. Fast draft is a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it. Even when I'm losing, I'm still enjoying it. It's become comical at this point that no matter who I put in my 2x spot, they score less than 10 fantasy points. So going to be doing it once again this week. But to talk a little bit more on the quick 6 super slam, which again, free rolls for beginning drafters. Go ahead, get in there. Top prize gets some promo money. It's a good way to get yourself acquainted with the system, with the boosters. But to talk a little bit more about it, I'm going to pass it over to the Podfather.
Pour one out for an incredible best ball season. It was a breakout 2025 for Fast Draft, but now the NFL action has started. That means it's DFS season. That's right. You might think, oh, wow, DFS, I can't win DFS. Oh, but you can on Fast Draft. You just pick any 6 guys, and you put them in a handful of booster spots. There's no salary rubric you have to follow. You're not going up against thousands of killer bots in these tournaments. Oh, no. These are regular people grabbing their 6 favorite plays of the week, and that's all you have to do. And we post the ownership so that you can choose how much chalk you want. There is no drafting. It's called the Quick 6 Super Slam. The Quick 6 Super Slam is the signature DFS contest at Fast Draft. It is changing DFS. We are making DFS great again. So go to fastdraft.app and use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. And let's go start drafting faster.
You'll catch me once again back in there. Like I said, I'll be back in there week 12. I'll be back in there week 12, and again, no Thursday show, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you guys who I'm putting in my 2x spot. So it's gonna be a mystery who I curse this week. But use that promo code JOwensFF to get that $50 deposit match. That's 5 bonus flex the quick 6 super slams. That's 10 bonus flex 6 frenzies if you would like. So go ahead, get in there. Just like you said, there's not a lot. This isn't overrun by bots. This isn't just models spitting out numbers. You get to do your drafts with the flex 6 frenzy. You get your boosters that you can go ahead and mix and match and differentiate yourself from the field. It's a lot of fun, and it's not reached a point where it's just like hyper competitive where only the sharpest of the sharps are making the money or only the best models are making the money. I've made money on there just being me, just not even like using my projections, using my rankings, but not like I'm not, like I said, I'm not plugging it into these models that are like hyper fine tuned for all of this. I'm just going in there, I'm having fun, I'm picking my guys, and it's a great time. So go ahead, pop into Fast Draft, get your drafts in for week 12. There's only so much time left for DFS, and then we're gonna have to wait all the way for best ball season to start back again in January. Yes, that's when best ball season starts, by the way. But going to keep it rolling here with these matchups here about halfway through. Need to keep it rolling, keep it rolling, keep it rolling. We had the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans. Not much to talk about here because there's just not there was not a lot of offense. We had Davis Mills once again, who threw the ball 41 times. And guess where those targets went? Exactly where I said. 10 targets to Nico Collins, 9 catches, 92 and a tutty. Nico. He's finally getting it rolling here. I was worried it was going to be a lost season for him. And honestly, that's the jury's still not out there, because when CJ Stroud comes back, we'll see if he was taking notes from Davis Mills and just getting the ball to his best player. But really, again, we saw it with the Houston Texans, where it's just kind of a mishmash behind Nico. Christian Kirk, 53%, Xavier Hutchinson, 53%, Jaden Higgins, 60%. So between those three guys behind Nico, it's very tough to predict where the points are going to go. Christian Kirk had a drop touchdown, could have had a decent game. Jaden Higgins ends up being the number 2 guy. But again, I don't trust any of these guys moving forward. If you want to, I know Alex was talking about it last week. He was bringing up the Podfather's love for Jaden Higgins moving forward. I think that's the highest upside swing that we got here. But I just don't think that it's going to be a consistent breakout. Again, this is Davis Mills at quarterback for these 2 good Jaden Higgins games. When Stroud comes back, I don't know what we see. Stroud's been kind of struggling, but in terms of the running backs, we saw what we've been seeing. It was Woody Marks dominating the backfield here, 66% of the snaps for him, and a majority of the opportunities, 19 opportunities to Chubb's 5. Woody Marks is the primary back. It's just very much Bill Krosky-Merritt type production sometimes. We see the big games, we see the quiet games, but 19 opportunities, the bulk of the snaps, that's where you have to keep going, especially at this stage of the season with all of these injuries going on. Woody Marks is going to be a consistent plug for your injury spot, for your flex, for your running back 2 spot if you need. And good games are coming. Good games are ahead. We got Buffalo next week. Sean Tucker just demolished them on the ground. Woody Marks, very much Sean Tucker-esque. And then Indy and KC, not the best matchups. And then Arizona, Vegas, and the Chargers to close it out in the fantasy playoffs. So Woody Marks could end up being a league winner type back here if he can consistently get the production. We are seeing the opportunity. We're seeing the snaps. I just want to see the consistent production that we just have not been able to get from him yet. But I'm sticking with him. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, A1. How we doing? Welcome in. Thank you for stopping by. Dalton Schultz has been doing Dalton Schultz things. High targets, not a lot else with it. He's been a perfectly fine back end, safe tight end start, even with CJ Stroud in it. This isn't just Davis Mills. This is with CJ Stroud too. So if you've been riding Dalton Schultz for the most boring, like tight end points ever, keep with it. It's better than playing the guessing game on a weekly basis. So if you've held Schultz, that's fine. It's not exciting, but again, he's not killing you. He's keeping you with a steady baseline at the tight end position. Tennessee. Yeah. No, that's okay. Cam Ward, 37 pass attempts, but just under 200 yards on 37 pass attempts is insane to me. This offense is inept. This offense is struggling. This offense needs an offensive line. It needs pass catchers to stay healthy. Again, Calvin Ridley, he's back. He missed time. He's back. He missed time. He's back. He comes back, breaks his fibula. He's done for the season. Hate to see it. Just an absolute lost season in what could have been a good, solid season. And it's tough to see Calvin Ridley have any type of fantasy relevance for the rest of his career. He's 30 years old, broken fibula. He's not going to be back till next year. So this might be the beginning of the end of Calvin Ridley's career here. I don't expect him to remain in Tennessee, to be honest with you. I think that this team is going to just completely just ride the youth movement here. Van Jefferson led the team with 7 targets, 22 yards and a touchdown. You don't trust any of these guys. Really, in Dynasty, you're looking to go get your Amenor, your DK, you go get those two guys for as cheap as they are right now, because this team is just not putting up any fantasy points at all. The running backs, like, doesn't matter what the hell the breakdown is of these opportunities and everything. It's a 50-50 split with snaps. Tyjae Spears, 53% snaps. Tony Pollard, 49%. Pollard got the bulk of the opportunities with 13 compared to Tyjae's 8, but this is a 50-50 split with no points being scored. You don't want either of these guys there, roster cloggers. You don't want any Tennessee Titan. There should not be one Tennessee Titan rostered in any type of, like, any league that's not super, super deep. And if you do, it's going to be a stash hold. If you're having to start a Tennessee Titan, your season is over. Point blank, period. Jonathan Santiago, welcome back. Good morning. How we doing? Would you trade Pickens and Tracy to get Judkins and Zay Flowers? I don't think I can trade Pickens right now. I like Zay Flowers, and Zay Flowers was one of my trade targets down the stretch here. But Pickens, it doesn't matter that he's the number 2. That offense is still chugging right along. I mean, we saw just an absolute monster game last night. I don't mind getting rid of Tracy to get Judkins. So if you really need the running back help, I would try to get more than Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, his value is low right now. He's been very consistent. He's been very consistent in a wide receiver 2 10-point range, but he's just not putting together what I had hoped. Obviously, we get the good matchups with New York, Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cincy. So maybe this is where the turnaround comes for Zay Flowers. But I would want more, getting rid of an absolute stud in George Pickens right now. Yeah, because I mean, like, even on the Judkins side, like, Judkins is getting the opportunities, but we've seen so many times that this offense isn't able to do anything with that. I mean, last week, 25 opportunities, 10 fantasy points. This week, 19 opportunities, 6 fantasy points. Like, it's just not there. Like, Judkins isn't consistent unless the matchup is good. Let's see here. Someone just offered their whole team for Cook and St. Brown. IDK might be worth it if he offered Addison, Gibbs, Kamara, JMO, and RJ Harvey. Gibbs. I think I still want Cook and St. Brown. I mean, Gibbs is obviously like Gibbs, like RB1 style, but Cook is a top 5 running back. St. Brown's a top 5 wide receiver. I don't know if you can do it unless you're like, I mean, are you going to be starting all of these guys, or is your roster so bad that you're starting these guys? I think you hold with what you got, man. Unless you are really desperate. If you're desperate for a running back, I would try to make a move to get a Judkins. Or if you can sell off if you got wide receiver depth and you can trade a St. Brown for like some type of package for a St. Brown Gibbs swap there, maybe go for that if you need the running back. But again, I can't get rid of Pickens right now. I just can't do it. I can't. I think he's too good, and Judkins and Flowers are not boomy enough for me to do that. They're not consistently boomy, where Pickens is consistently boomy. Like, before, Pickens was just like the big play or nothing, and now he's being consistent. Tyrone Tracy is a whatever throwaway piece. If he's just a piece to get something else, that's fine. But I like Pickens still on that side for the best player here. And again, if you need a running back, I would try to find something a little bit more consolidated to not get rid of Cook and St. Brown, essentially just to get Gibbs and JMO. RJ Harvey could be beneficiary. Again, if you need the running back depth, this one could be a little bit more interesting, but I don't know how I feel about that. If you're giving up Cook to just, it's an ancillary move from, like, it's a horizontal trade here for me for Cook and Gibbs, very similar. And then St. Brown for Addison, Kamara, JMO, and RJ Harvey. It feels like you're just taking kind of the trash heap and getting rid of a stud. So I'd rather have the stud there. But again, if you need a running back, I would try to work something out for a St. Brown Gibbs swap, that without having to do all of this. That's where I would go. But going to go ahead and keep on chugging here. San Francisco at Arizona. We had Brock Purdy come back, and he had a good game. Touchdowns galore. 200 touchdowns, 200 yards and 3 tutties in the air. Just efficient. And it was the Christian McCaffrey show. He is back once again. And that's what I expected with Brock Purdy. I expected this offense to just be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more consistent. And we had 19 ops for McCaffrey, 3 touchdowns here from him. A lot of 3 touchdown weeks this week, or 3 touchdown games this week from running backs. But CMC is CMC. It's that simple. We saw Ricky Pearsall come back as well, but only 3 targets. I expected a slow roll back in after the long absence. You don't expect them to just toss him back out there and have him run crazy. Although he did have 78% snaps, so that's great to see. That means they waited until he was fully healthy. Him and Jennings led this team with snaps there, and I expect that to be the case moving forward. I think Jennings and Pearsall will kind of be flip-floppy in who has the better game here. And then George Kittle, 2 tutties himself, 67 yards. With Purdy back, it's the George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey show. And then you're hoping to see something out of on a weekly basis out of Jennings and Pearsall. San Francisco's still fighting for that NFC West spot. The NFC West is absolutely bananas right now. So it's going to be great to see San Francisco, Seattle, and Rams just be putting up stupid video game numbers on a weekly basis to fight for that top spot. It's going to be fun. You want all of the guys in the NFC West right now. On the flip side, Jacoby Brissett does it once again. Just a solid game here. 22 fantasy points. Even with 2 interceptions, he still put up over 20 fantasy points with 450 passing yards and 2 tutties. He threw the ball 57 times. He's taken over the Joe Flacco role like we talked about earlier. Was it MV Prof? Yeah, MV Prof asking if he should drop Flacco for Brissett. Yes. Yes. Jacoby is going to be the quarterback for the rest of the season. I fully predict that. They're not going to risk Kyler Murray's health because they want to ship him out in the offseason. I 100% believe that. That's been the whispers. It's been the rumors. It's been the loudest whispers ever. And this running game is so beat up. Like Bam Knight, injured, but still getting some work. Nine opportunities here with the touchdown. Amari DeMarcado, one of the injuries that we need to talk about. High ankle sprain for DeMarcado. Does it matter? Yes, because Trey Benson, still not a guarantee to be back here in week 12, or is it week 13? Are they on bye this week? No, they already had their bye. Week 12 against Jacksonville, it's no guarantee that Trey Benson is back. So we could see a combination of Bam Knight and Michael Carter. Once again, DeMarcado will be missing time. It's going to be interesting, but we had no Marv. And I mean, Michael Wilson, 18 targets. Again, 60 pass attempts for Jacoby Brissett. 18 targets for Michael Wilson, 185 yards. And I said Greg Dortch is a very interesting option this week, and he delivers with 6 for 6 for 66 yards and a tutty here. That's just what Greg Dortch does. He's given opportunity, he delivers. He's not going to be a consistent guy when everyone's healthy, but when there is an injury, when there is a gap in this offense, Greg Dortch, he might be small, but he can plug a damn gap. And that's what he did once again. If we get more time missed from Marvin Harrison recovering from his appendectomy, expect more Greg Dortch. Obviously, I'm not expecting 60 pass attempts on a weekly basis from Jacoby, but next week against Jacksonville, we could see another sneaky shootout here. And then Trey McBride, obviously 11 targets, 115 and a tutty there. Just that man is absolutely carrying my Scott Fishbowl team, who is 20-2, baby. Been locked in the playoffs for quite a bit in Scott Fishbowl. That's been exciting. And it's on the back of Trey McBride and Jacoby Brissett, baby. So keep it rolling with the Arizona Cardinals. It's just been fantasy points galore. We'll keep an eye on Marvin Harrison Jr. To decide if you want to start your Greg Dortch in week 12 or not. And if Marv's back, you plug him in because Brissett's just dealing the ball all over the place and the running game is non-existent here. And the defense, clearly not great. So Arizona's looking like a Dallas Light right now. The other NFC West matchup, we had the Battle of the Goliaths. We had Seattle lose barely to the Rams here, 21-19 in favor of the Rams. Stafford, still the MVP favorite for me. He didn't light up the box score, but still 2 tutties, only 130 yards. But this was a projected game to just be like everyone was expecting fireworks, and I thought these were 2 very good defenses, and those defenses showed out for sure. I mean, Stafford's been absolutely cooking, and for them to hold him under 150 pass yards is something. But still, Stafford saves the day with his goal line passes to one to Devontae Adams and then one to Colby Parkinson. That's just the what it is. But Kyron, solid game here, 96 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So solid game. He's been so steady. He's been someone that I've been down on for years because I thought that he was propped up by goal line touchdowns, and he's been proving me wrong. So I'll eat the L on that on Kyron here. And then, I mean, with the Rams, it's Kyron, it's Puka, it's Devontae, and Stafford. That's it. I don't want to, like, Blake Corum, great stash, but none of these tight ends, none of these pass catchers I'm interested in. A1 Dallas defense is good now. Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure everyone looks real good against Geno Smith this year. So I'm sure that's going to continue on. I mean, I get it. Quinnen Williams, he's a nice addition. He's great, but we'll let's see here in week. They're going up against Philly, so it's just going to be another stink fest. But let's see Kansas City and Detroit, how they weeks 13 and 14, how Quinnen Williams looks then. On the Seattle side, Darnold had a tough game, 4 interceptions, 280 yards and no touchdowns there. So just another down game for Darnold, who's had 2 stinkers in a row. But at the same time, he's still propping up JSN, who had 12 targets, 9 catches, and another 100-yard game. JSN is just that dude. I can't say enough about JSN. The running back situation seems to be par for the course of who the hell, what the hell? 50-50 split still. 51% Walker, 43% Sharps. Walker got the touchdown this week, so yay for Walker. He gets in the end zone. How many is that on the year? 4 touchdowns on the year. Ugh. And then there's how many for Charbonnet? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 touchdowns between the running backs, and that's even a near damn 50-50 split. Like, come on. Give us someone to prop up in the fantasy football world. But here we are. It's still 50-50 Walker and Sharps. Next week against Tennessee, expect 50-50. Which one do you start? I don't know anymore. Every time I say start one of these guys, the other one has 2 touchdowns. I don't know anymore. If you need a flex and you have either one of them, sure. Just flip a coin. Literally flip a coin, because there's no analysis that can be done between Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet that is prescriptive, that is actually going to be right, because who the hell knows? It was nice to see some targets to the running backs, but guess what? 50-50, 3 targets Walker, 2 targets Charbonnet. Like, what? I'm hands up. I'm hands up on the Seattle running back situation this year. If you got one of them and you need a touchdown hope, yes, go for it. I don't know. It's JSN, and then if you need like a floor play and just hope for a touchdown out of these running backs, that's where you go. Rashid Shaheed did have 5 targets. He is still kind of getting worked into this offense, and it was a tough matchup. So it's not really it's tough to predict what he's going. He bumped up to 54% snap share, so that number is going to continue to rise here. He does have better matchups coming up, but they do get the Rams once again in week 16. So he needs to get it integrated into this offense to be fantasy relevant for the playoff stretch here. But it's JSN. AJ Barner, 11 targets is huge. Elijah Arroyo, only 2 targets. We've seen this out of Barner in spurts. We did see Arroyo kind of creep up on him, but Barner comes back with a vengeance this week with an 89% snap share compared to Arroyo's 37. Barner's a weekly tight end dart throw where he can do this, but he can also disappear like last week with 0 catches. So I like Barner. I think he's a high upside swing on a weekly basis. But next week against Tennessee, I don't know if I really, we've seen Tennessee just not give anything for fantasy football on offense or defense. So not really excited to be going there. I think there are better options on the waiver wire for week 12. Baltimore against Cleveland, a quiet game out of Lamar Jackson. 2 interceptions. Okay. Less than 200 yards passing and no touchdowns in the air or the ground, and only 10 yards on the ground for Jackson. So not quite the fantasy performance that we want to see out of Jackson coming out of the injury, but we get just an absolute beauty stretch of games here for Baltimore in general. Jets, Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cincy, and then even New England and Green Bay aren't the scariest. Green Bay's been a solid defense, and it's going to be in Lambeau, but it's going to be must-win football for the Baltimore Ravens here on out. So expect them to be playing their hardest and expect them to be going for it as much as they possibly can. Derrick Henry was a hesitant start for a lot of people up against this stout Cleveland run defense, but persistence and volume carry him here. 18 carries, 103 yards, and a tutty on the ground, and then even 2 catches for 19 yards. Good to see him worked in with no Justice Hill this week. It was nice to see Henry get even 2 targets. That's nice for Henry. But the King Henry is about to take over again. I just told you guys the schedule: Jets, Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cincy. That's 4 games of just and it's winter. It's Yeti time, baby. It is time for the Derrick Henry takeover. We've been waiting all year for it. It is time now. He started a week earlier than everyone expected, but he is about to be a top 3 running back for the next 4 weeks. Lock it right there. That's my call right there. Derrick Henry is going to carry fantasy teams to the playoffs in the next 4 weeks. Zay Flowers, as I said earlier, just steady guy. He's stuck in our wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 purgatory right now with no touchdowns since week 1. But I mean, 5 targets, 78 yards. That's what you're going to get out of Zay Flowers. I expected to see some more with Lamar back, but it's been the same. Mark Andrews had the crazy rushing touchdown with the fake tush push hurricane. So he's propped up by another touchdown. But once again, we are seeing a split here in this tight end room. But Mark Andrews just seems to be the consistent tight end bet here with likely kind of being more of the high upside guy. So if you're starting a tight end here, you're sticking with Andrews. He's involved more often in the high scoring opportunities. It's funny, like Isaiah Likely is a between the 20s tight end, apparently. Weird, but sure. On the Cleveland side, Dylan Gabriel, one of the injuries we need to talk about. Dylan Gabriel left with a concussion, most likely not playing. It looks like Cleveland is preparing for Shedeur Sanders to be the starter for week 12. Is that good? I don't think so. He cost the Browns the lead, 4 for 16 for 47 yards and an interception. It'll be really interesting. I'm not starting any Cleveland Brown outside of Kinshawn Judkins for week 12, just because I don't know what Shedeur's tendencies are going to be. I don't know where he's going to be targeting people. It is a good matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders, but again, I mean, you can go ahead and if you are desperate, you can throw out a Judy, you can throw out a Fannin, you can throw out an Njoku, but we don't know what Shedeur, where his chemistry is. We don't know where he wants to go with the ball. We don't know what the game plan with Shedeur is. So it's a very risky play starting anyone outside of Kinshawn Judkins in week 12 from Cleveland. We saw an AFC West battle in Denver with Denver eking it out. Denver it's been ugly all season. They're taking a page out of the Kansas City playbook from last season where it is not pretty football, but they keep winning games, 9-2, leading the AFC West, potentially forcing Kansas City into desperation mode here. But just not a lot of fantasy points to be had unless you had Will Lutz. Bo Nix, another good game, almost 300 yards, but no touchdowns in the air or the ground. So you're just kind of left meh. RJ Harvey did lead the backfield with 14 opportunities, but the touchdown goes to Jaleel McLaughlin, who was mixed in quite a bit here for the running backs in Denver. We had the snaps it was dominated by RJ Harvey, but the opportunities we did see McLaughlin get worked in. Don't buy into that. Just stick with RJ Harvey. The matchup was just tough. So if you can still buy on RJ Harvey low, go do it off of the bad game, because I mean, 60+% of the opportunities and the snaps, he's going to have better games moving forward here. They do get the week 12 bye. So this is your time to go buy RJ Harvey if you are able to eat a 0 this week, because they get Washington, Vegas, Green Bay, Jacksonville, and then back to Kansas City in week 17. But that Washington, Vegas stretch in weeks 13 and 14 is going to be nice. In the wide receiver room, we see, Sutton and Franklin, top 2 once again, and Pat Bryant is creeping up there, but it's kind of becoming a little bit of wide receiver roulette in Denver, pass catcher roulette, because Evan Ingram mixed in there too with 5 targets. It's very hard to trust any of these guys. As I said, as I've made Troy Franklin my start of the week many a time, because he is the primary red zone option for Bo Nix right now. He is consistently the wide receiver 2 in terms of snaps, targets, opportunities, everything. And again, if you are looking for a guy to score a touchdown, I'm putting my money on Troy Franklin on a weekly basis. Again, bye week, but we get 2 juicy matchups. Green Bay's not too scary in the air, and then Jacksonville, hit or miss. So not a bad matchup, or not bad matchups moving forward here. I like Troy Franklin. He is still out there in 63% of leagues. So go check your leagues. Go scoop Troy Franklin if you can eat him through the bye as well. Kansas City, Very pedestrian game out of Patrick Mahomes, 45 pass attempts, but only 275 and a touchdown with 1 interception. Kareem Hunt dominated the backfield, as I said, start of the week. It wasn't great, only 59 and a touchdown, but that's Kareem Hunt. That's what he's going to be. That's what I've been saying. Pacheco potentially back, and that could muddle things a little bit, but I expect for at least this coming week here in Indianapolis, it's going to be Kareem Hunt once again. Rashee Rice, the only pass catcher or only wide receiver I'm starting. Here's 9 targets, nothing with him, but a tough matchup. And then Kelsey had the big game, 13 targets, 91 and a tutty. So Travis Kelsey consistently in that top 5 tight end bracket of must starts. But outside of that, it's Rashee Rice, it's Travis Kelsey. And if you got to start a running back, Kareem Hunt for Kansas City, that's it. That's it. This isn't the Kansas City offense of old where you're just firing up everybody. This is very much top heavy consolidated offense, which is fine. That makes it easy. That makes it very easy. Detroit went in and Philadelphia did what Philadelphia's been doing, where they just bogged down a game. The defense is playing out of their minds. The offense is playing very poorly. And really, this game was handed to Philadelphia by Detroit. Detroit could not, the Detroit offense could not get going. They could not protect Jared Goff, who could not make the big time plays when he needed to. Jahmyr Gibbs still delivered, though, with 107 receiving yards. When he did get the ball in space, he was electric. But when they were trying to ram him up the middle, it did not make sense. It was not working. And then Waymo, baby. MCDC column plays. Waymo, once again, just big boom week. And this is going to be moving forward. Jameson Williams, another league-winning candidate here with Dan Campbell calling the plays. We get a lighter set of matchups here. We get the Giants. We get the Green Bay revenge game. We get Dallas. Week 15 Rams. First week of the playoffs against the Rams. Scary as hell. But if you survive with Waymo in that game, you get Pittsburgh and Minnesota to close out the fantasy football playoffs. I definitely think Jameson Williams is going to carry teams to the fantasy playoffs, and he's going to win people leagues because we have seen 2 weeks in a row now, 7 targets back-to-back, 90% snap share as always, and then almost 88 yards this past game and a touchdown. 3 weeks in a row with a touchdown for Jameson Williams. He's turning it on. MCDC knows this is a key to this offense is Jameson Williams. It's not just Gibbs. It's not just St. Brown, especially with no Laporta, who is on IR right now. Jameson. On the Philly side, we saw Jalen Hurts take a couple shots downfield, but it felt very much like those were obligatory shots downfield where he's not purposefully, but like he's making sure that he's not throwing an interception and he's sailing the ball. And if his receiver gets to it, great. If not, he's like, oh, I took my deep shot. They can't get mad at me now. Jalen Hurts looks bad, dude. He saves the day with a rushing touchdown with the tush push as always, but it looks bad. Barkley with a solid game, no touchdowns, but 90 yards and I mean 28 opportunities. You can't turn away from Saquon, but until this offense gets it right, you're gonna have to just deal with this with Saquon. Devonta Smith, shocking here, only 5 targets and only 1 catch for 8 yards. Squeaky AJ Brown game as always, 11 targets for him, but only 49 yards there as well. So it's just this offense is tough to trust here on a weekly basis. And Detroit's defense played out of their mind. Let's not get it wrong here. We could see a lot more points in Dallas, in Chicago, against the Chargers, against Vegas, against Washington. This Philly schedule down the stretch here is very fantasy friendly. Can they do it? I don't know. I don't know if they have to because their defense is also playing just, like I said, stupidly good. They're healthy on defense and it shows. They are shutting down. This is like the 3rd game in a row where they're just shutting a team down. And I think that's going to it's going to make it tough to trust the offensive options here in Philadelphia. But the schedule says you start your studs. You drafted all these guys very high. You've held on to them. You've traded for them. They are studs for a reason, and they get a very light schedule here down the stretch. So you stick with your Philly guys, and you hope they get it figured out with the play calling and Jalen Hurts opening his eyes past 5 yards. For the Monday Night Football game and the last game before I get out of here, I said I was going to make it quick. God damn it. We got Dallas smacking up Las Vegas. Not much to really say here. Javonte Williams quieting down as the season goes on. This is the 2nd game in a row where you're kind of disappointed. And he gets some tough matchups here. Philly, KC, Detroit. are going to be tough. So if you have to pivot off of Javonte, you can, but the volume is it's tough to pivot away from that. And then with Dallas, it's you got your big three. You got Pickens, 11 targets, 9 catches, 144 and a tutty. CeeDee Lamb, 66 and a tutty with 5 catches. And then Ferguson with a touchdown to save your game, but still 5 targets. So you start your big three there. Dak Prescott cooking. And then on the flip side, Ashton Genty, 14 opportunities. You're like, okay, that's good. 6 carries for 7 yards. They did not run the ball but like 2 times in the first half, and I don't know why they ran it an additional 4 times in the second half, but we at least saw some volume there. But this Vegas team is just impossible right now. 12 targets for Bowers, 7 catches for 72 yards, but outside of that, you're starting Genty and hoping that they can get it right with volume, and then you're starting Bowers. Thank you guys. As always, I got to get out of here, but I appreciate you guys on a weekly basis coming in. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Player Profiler Now YouTube page. Twitter was down, is down today with the video, so not broadcasted over there, but make sure that you are subscribed over here on YouTube. Make sure you like the video, smash that like button for me so I can keep doing what I'm doing here. And as always, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @JOwens_FF. Again, guys, no Thursday show this week. I will be out of town. Appreciate everyone for coming in. Appreciate everyone for watching the replays here and listening to the podcast. Catch y'all next week.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.